Hey everyone, today we're going to take a look at the game Queen by Midnight by Darrington Press. So this game is billed as a deck building battle royale. The premise or story of the game is that there is this kingdom that the queen has died. So how does the new queen get chosen in this realm? Well, all the princesses come together. They duke it out and battle, and at the stroke of midnight, whoever is the most powerful princess becomes the new queen. So yeah, let's take a look at this game here. So we're going to start off showing you this game, and I'm going to show you that I can't even really fit this whole game on my table because of how big it is. I mean, it's just got some really huge components, but they are really amazing components. So what do we have here? Well, this is the main centerpiece of the entire game, which is this clock tower. This clock tower is all made from punch-out pieces that you put together yourself here. So what is going on with it? Well, you got this dial on it here, which will let it advance the time, which the time is going to be your round counters. It has one on both sides, and turning that dial does turn it on both sides. The card here, of course, has place for the Bazaar deck and some of the cards to come out. It's also a Lazy Susan, so that no matter where you're at on the table, you can actually see the cards. And I mean, it's a tower, so what else would you expect? A dice tower. So we have the 6 different princesses that are in this game. They each have their repertoire boards, which are big and huge. We can see each of them. Each of these characters is a unique character. They all play differently. None of these are the same. Each of these has their own individual deck that comes with it. You have your starter deck, which you will see that the cost to buy and the cost to spend is all 0 on all these. That's why they're your starter cards. So that starts off as your deck. You'll have your vault deck, which has a lot of other cards in it that will go down here. You'll have your war chest, which becomes available a little bit later in the game, and your ultimate, which each of the princesses has their ultimate card, which is tied to this right here. I happen to get the set of hollows, so I went ahead and changed out the hollow card with this, and this is tied to that card. So we'll have a few different places here that you can buy cards from. We'll have cards from the vault will come out here. These can be purchased. Of course, these can be bought once you get to 8 o'clock on the game. And then we have these cards, which will go here. These will be the Bazaar cards that all of the princesses can purchase. These cards, as it shows us down here, stay out for a certain amount of time. These cards will stay till 5 o'clock. At 5 o'clock, these cards go away. And the afternoon cards get changed out with the twilight cards. It would come down and do the same thing. And then at 8 o'clock, the midnight cards come out. As the cards go from afternoon to twilight to midnight, they get much more crazy on their effects. Of course, also these war chest cards come out at 8 o'clock, and these are really nasty ones that are available for each of the princesses. Of course, you have your health and your clout. Clout starting at 0 and your health starting at 30. This is how you determine the strongest princess at the end, because health plus clout is your overall power or score. And of course, if you get knocked all the way down to 0, you have been defeated. But you are not necessarily completely out of the game, and we'll get to that in a bit. And so how do you fight? Well, you fight with these cards here. There are different types of cards. We have attack cards, which is exactly what it is, an attack. It will tell you how to do your attack. A lot of times that would be based off of the power of your different types that you have up here. You have Brawler, you have Caster, and you have Schemer. Every princess will be 2 of the 3. You have reaction cards, which will react to something, usually to an attack card being played, or you taking damage, or you reacting to dealing damage to someone. Reaction cards are usually placed right down there in the armory. A utility card, which will do things for you. A boon, which will stay down here in your armory and do good stuff for you. A bane, which will go in somebody else's armory and do things to them. And a summon, which you can think of as kind of like a sidekick that will show up down there. It will get certain amount of loyalty put on it, and as it is attacked, it loses loyalty. You start off with the cards in your hand. Your hand starts off with 5 cards, but will move to 6 cards and 7 cards later on in the game. As you play cards, they are put into your archive, which your archive is essentially a discard pile. As you purchase cards from your vault or from the bazaar, as they are purchased, they go into your archive. But as your entire deck is eventually played up, your deck will then be shuffled, so those cards that you purchased are now in your deck and available to you. Additionally, you will have cards that can be banished and will be taken out of there. Specifically, you have this card here, Strategize, which will pull cards out and banish them. This is just to shrink the size of your deck down so you can get to those other cards earlier. You don't want to have your hand tied up with a bunch of cards like Copper, which just gain a single clout and really don't do a whole lot for you late game. You want to be able to get to those good cards that you purchased. But every time that you go completely around the table, you will advance the clock 1 hour. Now, as the clock shows on here, it starts at different hours for different numbers of players. That's basically to keep the game from going on too long. Starting at 1 o'clock for 3 players, 2 for 4, 3 for 5, and 4 for 6 players. So this is a very nice native 6-player game that actually does some stuff to keep itself from going on very long. And it does have a built-in timer into it, which is also really great. And of course, each of the princesses has their own deck that is unique and works a particular way. You are able to get cards, of course, from the bazaar to add to that will add the change and feel of your princess's individual cards and her individual deck. So essentially every game you can end up with a deck that works a little bit different. Now we're going to talk about something that I haven't talked about yet, and this thing, which is declaring allegiance at 6 o'clock. When the clock hits 6 o'clock, all of the princesses will have a big royal chat. And their big royal chat is that they are going to pledge allegiances to somebody. So basically, you are saying if you go down, you are going to pledge your allegiance to one of the other princesses. That's why you have 5 cards here, one with the face of the other princesses on it. You will talk with each other. You will scheme. You will make deals. You will plan things out. But in the end, you will take one of these cards, put it down here, and it stays down there until you are eliminated. When you are eliminated, clear off your repertoire board. You take this card and you reveal it, and now you will see, in this case, I have pledged my fealty to Boss No. So we will flip over the board. Oh. Show that I am defeated. Put the princess I pledged my loyalty to. Take my ultimate card, and as I flip my ultimate card over, you see that I have 2 other things that I can do, and on my turn I get to do one of these to help my leader. Now I am deciding which of these I want to do. My leader doesn't. I can discuss it with them and whatever, but I make the decision on this, and so I'll put that there. And now I have pledged fealty to someone else. Now only the first player to actually become the advisor to someone else gets to be that player's advisor. So if someone else were to get eliminated and have Boss No as their princess that they have pledged allegiance to, they would just be out of the game. Additionally, if Boss No is eliminated, then I'm out of here, and then Boss No pledges her allegiance to whoever she was sealed it down to here. So we can see that there's a way for eliminated players to still stay in the game and have some impact on it. And we can see that it has a nice timer on it that stops the game from going on for a ridiculous long amount of time. So what are some of the things I like about this game? Well, this uses a lot of elements from other games in that they're things that we've seen before. It's really not as complicated of a game as it seems once you get into it. It's actually pretty simple. Most everything just tells you what to do. It's just learning how to get those cards and how to play them, and that doesn't take you particularly long through it for you to figure that out. And I like each of the characters having their own deck, but having the shared cards that let you end up making that deck a little bit different as it goes on, so that it won't necessarily play the same way in every game. And I think we've got like really good artwork on this. I think we've got a lot of amazing looking components. That is all really exceptionally done. This is a beautiful looking game, and just the table presence of the entire Clock Tower Bazaar on a turntable is just really crazy. Now there are of course some downsides to this game. One is going to be the instruction manual. Now it is a very beautiful instruction manual. On the back it has instructions on how to put the clock tower together. We've actually got sections in here to give us like a backstory on each of the characters. And then we have like this whole, what the whole lore of this, 12-fold rule by midnight kingdom is, or queendom, I guess. Now there's some stuff in here in the rule book that seems like pretty big omissions. They have put up a kind of little additional information pack up on their website at Darrington Press so that you can see more about it. Now, really looks like they didn't run the rule book through a lot of people that weren't already fairly familiar with the game, and there's some stuff that shouldn't have missed through. Like there's nothing to tell you there that when you buy a card from the vault or from the bazaar that another one instantly goes out there. You don't know if that happens instantly or if you have to spend the clout to be able to refresh the bazaar or refresh your vaults. I mean, it just straight doesn't tell you anywhere. There's also like nothing in there on what to do if 2 princesses are tied at midnight. I looked on Board Game Geeks and someone said they went by the Darrington Press booth and they were just like, oh, well, that never happened in playtesting. Well, there's a lot of things that won't happen in playtesting that you still got to try to account for. And a tie seems, in a game that ends on the clock and not ends on some particular thing happening, you could end up having a tie pretty easily. A little disappointing here knowing where Darrington Press comes from for anyone not familiar with it. This is basically the board game publisher arm attached to Critical Role, which is now a big YouTube and Twitch presence, and these are people that have been around and dealing with board games professionally for a very long time. And it's a little disappointing to see that something done under their banner that is, missing some pretty basic stuff there. That's just stuff you really shouldn't be missing on. And then the other thing that that's another downside, I'll have to go back to the other camera and show you. I'll show you what the issue is here. We do have this nice box here. We do have a nice insert here, which is really great. One thing they got absolutely right on the insert is that people are not going to want to constantly take apart and put together this clock. So that is great there. They got that good. They have places that some of the stuff very obviously goes to. The big issue is going to be the cards. Now, the cards fit. And you're supposed to be able to fit all the cards into these two spots right here. The issue is that if you sleeve the cards, they don't fit. There's not any additional room to be able to get them in there if they're sleeved. And that's a pretty major problem because this is a deck building game. You are going to be shuffling a lot. Everyone is going to want to sleeve these cards, and they will not fit in here easily if they're sleeved. You can find a way to kind of make it work, but it's a bit clunky. Basically, end up, the best I can find is to put the Bazaar cards here, and the Bazaar cards will just fit in there if they're sleeved, so that works pretty well. The princesses, you're pretty much going to be taking Ziploc bags and putting them in, which is a little weird and a little clunky. That's going to include all of these game pieces as well. These are going to be the generic game pieces, the plus and ones, and the loyalty hearts for the summons. We now take two of the princesses, and we will just stick them, one here and one here. Fits a little weird. You can make that go there. Then we basically take our other princesses that we have arranged like that, put them in this way. And you can see it's just a little clunky to get it to close well, and it doesn't close quite right once you put that in there. You can get it close, and we can get it better. That's pretty good. And we stick that on it, and it closes down to, a little bit sticking under it there. It mostly closes. It's not perfect. It's just a little bit off, and that's a little disappointing. Additionally, there's a couple of gameplay things in there that, at least on the plays that we've done so far, seem a little unusual. The timing for the whole pledging loyalty thing seems to come in very early. The first couple of hours on there are generally used just to build up clout, because you can't really do anything else except buy clout and maybe buy some cards. You've got no attack cards in those starter decks, so you have to buy some attacks to get those in there. And so you're going to have to play through. It's going to take you at least 2 hours just to go through all of those cards. And then that will let you, on the third hour you're playing, be able to start actually doing some stuff. And you'll find that maybe a lot of people haven't really even done anything to each other yet. There's not been anybody making anybody mad because they haven't had a chance to really do anything. And it seems to just come along a little too early. Additionally, the ultimate cards seem to come along kind of late. And by the time you get them, you're sticking them in your deck and kind of hoping they come up. And so 8 o'clock seems a little late to be getting those, because it can take some time for them to eventually shuffle back in. But that's something that maybe on some other plays we'll see, that maybe there'll be some better ways to play it that will help improve that a little, and that could definitely be the case. But anyway, it is definitely an interesting game. I really did like it. Everybody that played it liked it. We want to definitely get into this more, try some of the other characters, and see if we can start developing some strategy on this to get better at it. And we think that the first game took us a while to get through there. It was about 2.5 hours or a little bit over that. But that was kind of learning it. I'm sure as we go on through it, this is going to start moving along a little bit quicker and get closer to that 60 to 90 minutes. But anyway, definitely was impressed with the game and definitely impressed with the table presence on it. So, yeah, definitely looking forward to more of this one. So if you found this video useful, be sure to give it a thumbs up and a like. You can go down to the comments section and let us know what you think of anything down there. And you can go and subscribe to my channel to make sure that you don't miss any of the videos that I post so you catch everything. This is Jeremy at Poindexter G from To The Tabletop, and we'll see you around next time.